Shalom, shalom. It's your brother MACCABEES again. You already know what this is. This is Trumpets of Zion, T.O.Z. Want to give all praise to the Most High through his beloved Son. All right, so this is revisiting Deuteronomy 28, verse 68, volume 3. This portion was going into the Ladinos. Pretty much like I said, for the last two volumes, it's editing. A lot of edits made, new stuff added, like in some parts outside of just dropping images. I spoke in this one later on in the video and brought some other things out regarding the Ladinos. So, that's kind of the new stuff that was added from the old video. I just wanted to add, I always got to do my little intro, but basically, Marrano and Ladino are basically bywords. So, thus, fulfilling Deuteronomy 28, verse 37. And both of those, here in Ladino, but I showed in the Marranos how synonymous with being black, Moor, Moreno, so on and so forth. And they were Jews. So likewise with Ladino, it's the same thing. Okay, so it's not a terminology that donates a nationality. It's a byword. Okay, so that's what I want to say about that. As well as I don't want to hear any more, as well as Israelis, Jewish people saying that they are the Marranos when basically Moreno, like I said, or more, shows that's a Marrano. All right, so I don't want to hear that no more. Also, the Jews didn't disappear because you had, because that's what people, for you apologetics and all you dudes that act like after 70 AD, like the Jews just disappeared. So Deuteronomy 28, verse 68, it was in Egypt, and then that was it. You know what I'm saying? So you think after that, that was it, and the Jews, though many accounts show that the Jews went into West Africa, West Africa, East Africa, so on and so forth, also all throughout Europe. Okay, because you have Paul. Paul, he went to Britain. He was also in Spain because Acts, the lost book of Acts, the 29th chapter goes into that, speaking of him trying to reach some of the 10 tribes, because it says that when you read Acts 29, it tells you that he was trying to go up to teach he heard that some of the Israelites from the Assyrian captivity was up in Britain. Okay, so, which cuts the chart and you men in the history in regards to, all the 10 tribes came to the Americas. No. Okay, because I showed with the David Rubini, showed, the black Jews of Kraganor, showed that he was, from Reuben. His brother was the king over the empire of Gad, Reuben, I believe. I forgot the other tribe. I think Gad. It might have been Gad, Reuben, and Naphtali, or something like that. I will put it up, after I'm done speaking. But basically, so, and then like I said, Eldan the Danite said, throughout Ethiopia, the 10 tribes, Gad, so on and so forth. So they didn't all come to the Americas. So also for you clowns thinking that they were Canaanites, because I seen, dudes using false Jew information because they're trying to deny every time it's a source from a fake Jew, it's always trying to deny that the Jews were black. So you guys don't pick up on it. You just want to pick, it's a Canaanite. You know what I'm saying? So, and again, like I just said, Paul was going to teach Israelites. So that wouldn't make no sense. He's going to teach people from Ham. No, he was going to teach Israelites. Okay, and then you had Jews already in Carthage. Okay, you had Jews already in Carthage as well as Libya, which are basically next to each other. All right, so everything you see that says Canaan or Phoenician or whatever, Carthaginians, don't automatically think it's talking about the Hamitic nation. Okay, and yeah, they always talk about, oh, the Canaanite will not be in the house of the Lord, but you guys copy everything we do, whether on a worldly sense and in this truth. You guys saying shalom and all of this kind of stuff, and you got that from us. So you guys are really you guys are more Canaan in that sense. Okay, and even the scholars say that yeah, they don't believe that the quote unquote Africans descend from, which they know they're talking about Negroes from the slave trade. They don't descend from Canaan. Okay, so like I said, which again, yeah, I showed the Marano Ladinos connection to being Israelites. Okay, so and then like I said, so um, yeah, so basically, I was looking over something. So yeah, like I said, leave comments, questions, concerns in regards to the video. And then, like I said, be on the lookout for Volume 4, where I deal with the MUNTER account and Third Maccabees, the fourth chapter, or basically, just Third Maccabees, dealing with, more on the whole aspect of slave ships to Egypt. But as I said, showing here with Ladino, Morano, showing that we were sent, to the Americas, slave ships, and they were Jews. All right, so it's a twofold event. Shalom. And I'm gonna touch into the Ladinos, um, and show how the connection with being Israel, as well as them going into captivity. So a lot of what you're going to be seeing, you're gonna see a lot of stuff, like a lot of stuff you will see Ladino, but you'll also see stuff like African. So again, you have to understand, um, the context, because again, all this stuff is hidden, and this is what the world pushes, that the Negro is an African. He's not. They don't push that he's the real Jew. But as I brought out in my Morano video, showing you how those that were expelled from Spain and Portugal, or more so Spain, and fled into Portugal, but also they went from Portugal into West Africa and North Africa, were Israelites, and they were black people. Okay, so I want to show that Ladino is pretty much the same thing, but it was more so the aspect of those Israelites actually taking on the Christianity, and or because they knew, they were familiar with the Spanish culture or the Spanish language. Okay, because you had the Ladinos and then the Bozales. I believe that's how you say it. But the Ladinos were more acculturated with, yeah, the Spanish culture, and the Bozales, they weren't. Okay, so that you'll see those two terms basically. All right, so I just wanted to start off with the definitions. And when you look at Ladino, they try to so a lot of stuff that I'm gonna be proving and showing is from sources, books, and things like that, and text. So it's not gonna be which is gonna show, and it's gonna back up. For instance, this and most definitions nowadays are gonna say that a Ladino is someone of uh, mixed ancestry, or a mestizo, um, which that to an extent is true, but the term that's fairly new, where it was referred to as a mestizo. Um, Before that, it was mainly for the Negro. Okay, and I'm gonna prove that. But I also wanted to show that Ladino was also a language, which was a mixture of Spanish and the Hebrew, which was started by the Jews in Spain before they got expelled. Okay, so you have this term Judaismo. Okay, And like I was saying, when you type in Ladino, you're not gonna get anything talking about the Negro. So you'll have to go to like Black Ladino, which I'm gonna get some stuff out of the Wikipedia, but like I said, I'm gonna be backing it up with other sources, so it's not, oh, you're on Wikipedia, you know what I'm saying? So, but when you there's really nothing that goes into the Ladino being black, because I'm gonna bring out a definition showing you before the, like the 19th century, how, why is it changed. Okay, but when you go over to Judaismo, so the Judaismo, you see it has to do with the language, sacred Jewish texts. And then you go to Judaismo, it says another name for Ladino, Jewish, and it says a language based on Old Spanish and written in Hebrew script, spoken by descendants of Sephardic Jews expelled from Spain in the 15th century. Okay, and if you haven't peeped my Morano video, watch that first and then watch this to get an understanding of those Jews in Spain, which were black. Okay, so from there, let's get the first definition. All right, so this is from Iberia and the Americas: Culture, Politics, and History, Volume One. By it was edited by John Michael Francis. So this is the Ladino, the definition. Okay. It says the term Ladino is of uncertain origin in Spain, but it is generally referred to foreigners, often slaves who had become Spanish speakers and professed the Christian faith. Over time, its meaning shifted so that by the late 19th century, it meant non-Indian, and it increasingly became synonymous with mestizo. In early colonial Spanish America, the term Ladino applied almost exclusively to African slaves and native peoples of the Americas, as in the usage Negroes Ladinos or Indios Ladinos, to mean the same as it did in Spain. Ladino tended to be used as an adjective to describe populations that were otherwise considered foreign to the Spanish. By the 18th century, the comparative decline in native populations that could not communicate in Spanish and the attendant growth to mixed race populations transformed the use of Ladino so that it became synonymous with mixed race. Castas, especially mestizos and mulattoes. Although the word lost flavor in many parts of Latin America after independence, it remained a key term in Central America, where it is still used today. Throughout the 19th century, Ladino was still used to mean mixed race. Okay, so that was the point I wanted to get. So, which I'm gonna bring something else out as well to show that it did also mean someone of a mix, like a mulatto, you know. Okay, and we have to understand that the real indigenous, the natives, they were also called Negro, and I could possibly do a lesson on that as well. Uh, but yeah, the whole doctrine of, that that blacks, or they were never dark skinned Indians, and they only came through slavery as far as mixing in with the natives, which no, that's not true. They were always, you had dark skinned Negroid Native Americans. So they were, and there's many explorers that stated that they looked like Moors or Negroes or Ethiopians, so on and so forth. Okay, but just to show that it was exclusively labeled to African slaves or Moranos or the Israelites. Okay, so like I said, you're gonna see African, but if you put the pieces together, then you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, so let me see. All right, so this is from the Britannica Concise Encyclopedia. And for Ladino, it says Central American whose primary language is Spanish and who wears modern dress. Ge- Genetically, Ladinos may be of Indian, African, or mixed descent. Okay, so just showing you that that term was based around those three, I guess race classifications. All right, so an Indian may be a Ladino by abandoning the Indian dress and customs. Okay, so just like uh, with the Negro going into Christianity, pretty much, and then like I said, the very which I'm gonna further prove, but going into the Christian doctrine per se, he was a Ladino plus again because he knew the Spanish, knew the culture, so on and so forth. Okay, so just wanted to bring that out. Okay, so and this is from the American Encyclopedia Popular Dictionary of General Knowledge, Volume 5, and it says all the offices are in the hands of Spaniards, being the rewards generally of political services. Of the Negroes, those who speak Spanish are called Ladinos. Those who do not, Bazales. Okay, so of the Negroes, those who speak Spanish are called Ladinos. Okay, so just to show that connection, so let's go to showing how the Israelite. Okay, so it said it so happened that in 1496 and 97, Portuguese kings João II and Manuel I hoarded hundreds of thousands of Jews, sent them into exile on the West African coast of Guinea and Biafra, which I brought out in the Morano video, and on the islands of Cape Verde and Sao Tome, into a life of perpetual slavery. These particular branch of the Iberian Moorish Hebrews are called the Ladinos. Ladino means Latinized Negroes. It was a racist term used for the black Jews of Iberia who were soon deported to African islands and coastal settlements and used as the first slaves in the sugar plantations. And there's the link that you can go to, which I'll put the link in the description. All right, so yeah, from there, let me get uh, there's something that goes hand in hand with that. So this is from Forged in the Fiery Furnace: African American Spirituality by Diana Hayes, and it says on page 35, Roman Catholic influences. It says the first Africans in the United States, however, came with the Spanish conquistadors and spoke little or no English, because you had a lot of also like Moranos that came with the conquistadors to like whether it was to interpret or just because they a lot of them used them because of their knowledge of Spain and knowledge of the language and stuff like that. So that's a lot of the Spanish conquistadors, which I'm gonna bring out another source later to show. That's what they were doing. Okay, but it says the date of 1619, usually given as when the first Africans arrived, applied only to the English colonies and English American history. The great majority of Africans who came in the 16th century were Ladinos, baptized Spanish speaking Roman Catholics who either had been born in Latin America or lived in Spain. Okay. In the early 1500s, Spain exiled hundreds of black Ladinos. So let me read that again. In the early 1500s, Spain exiled hundreds of black Ladinos. So who were those people that were exiled during that time, during the 14th and 15th century? The Jews, the Israelites. See, but it's gonna form and put and I it's the way it's gonna be written in these books, even by our people that write books, because they don't really know the truth, or they, is suppressed. So they're gonna put things like Africans and stuff like that. But as we can see, even in the Morano video showing you that in the 1500s that the exile, those that were exiled were the Israelites, were Jews, okay, and they were black. So, but even just referring here that hundreds of black lads, so it wasn't the Moranos and then Ladinos both being sent out. No, because they were the same people, okay. So it just like they were called Moranos, they were called Ladinos. It's same, being called Negro, being called Moor, okay. So that's all that represented. They came, some free but many enslaved, to the Americas and became a critical source of labor and help in establishing and maintaining the colonies. Okay. So my main point was just to show in the early 1500s, Spain exiled hundreds of black Ladinos. Okay. So just to show that we know those, that's talking about the Moranos. Okay, so I was looking when I was doing the editing. I was looking at a couple sources, and I was like, "Damn, I didn't bring these out." When I was watching the video, I noticed I didn't bring these out, and they were good sources. So, I'm gonna bring them out now. So this was "Black Rhythms of Peru" by Helda Carol Friedman. All right, and I'm gonna just go through a little of this. It says, in James Lockhart's small sampling of 256 slave cells in Lima and Arequipa, 19% of slave origins were given as Spain, Portugal, Indies, or Creole. And Frederick P. Bauer's sample of 6890 slaves sold in Lima, 6.5% came from Spain or the Spanish Americas. Okay, so this whole lesson was about showing the connection, synonymous with Ladinos and Moranos, because they were both coming from Spain. All right. It says the English equivalent of Criollo is Creole. Okay, so you got the, and I have information about the Creole and how they were Jews as well. So again, it's the proof is there. But it says in Peru, the term Criollo has a multi-ethnic meaning flavored by local Castel culture. Ladino and Criollo initially describe acculturated African slaves. Okay, let me say that again. Ladino and Criollo initially describe acculturated African slaves a lot. So just showing that, and later on, there's a source that I bring out that says basically Ladino and Criollo are the same. They're synonymous with each other. All right, but as we see acculturated African slaves, which we know Ladino Jews, okay, we're Israelites. So again, you gotta put your the radar on. You know what I'm saying? So which I say, this is an edit, but I say that throughout the video. That they're gonna say African slaves and things like that. But it says as opposed to Bazales, or slaves who came directly from Africa. Ladinos were Africans. Okay, so remember Jews. So, but again, the terminology now here, which it's gonna say in a minute, which matter of fact, I'll just let it say it for itself. But it says Ladinos were Africans who had lived under European authority and were versed in European languages and customs. Criollos were African offsprings born in Europe or the New World. The term Criollo later encompassed the children of Spanish settlers born in Peru. Since the 20th century, Criollo has described people of various racial ethnic backgrounds who identify with cultural practices particular to Castile, Peru, and normally ascribed to European origin. Okay, so like earlier when the video started, I had a source that showed how Ladino is now, it could be applied to mestizos, but originally it meant, black person. I won't say African, but yes, a black person, a Negro. Okay, so likewise, Criollo mean Creole, and now it could be applied to, someone of a European origin. Okay, but we know it still mean mulatto, someone that is of black, descent with white, or, you know what I'm saying, mixed. Okay, so I mean that's what it's showing you. So yeah, these people that talk about these definite Latinos and all, no, those were black people, and this whole video showed how the connection with the Jews. Just first what the first 2-3 minutes of the lesson, I showed that. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, this is an edit, but yeah, So the next source I wanted to bring out here was An Eye on Race, okay, by John Busterin. All right, so there's some good stuff in this one, and the connection with Jews being Israelites. It says the name Latino. Matter of fact, let me see. Okay, it says the name Latino places the protagonist Juan Latino into a complex discursive practice that associates language with whiteness. In this society, darker shades are put on the Afro-Hispanic skin depending on his or her ability to assimilate linguistically to the white standard. The name Latino echoes the common classification of blacks as Ladinos. Okay, so it says the name Latino echoes the common classification of blacks as Ladinos. Okay, so again, another source showing that Ladino is synonymous with being black. And who were those Ladinos? Jews, Israelites. That is those that can speak the standard dialect. Ladino blacks, in a sense, were considered whiter blacks and generally were given less labor intensive jobs and were more valued than the Bazo. Okay, so just like during the time of slavery, whether it was a mulatto, someone that was mixed, or yeah, someone that had more knowledge, because at this time again, it's someone that had knowledge of Spain, spoke the language. Okay, and I bring all that out in the lesson, showing the difference between a Ladino and Bazal. And Bazal didn't know Spain like that because they were primarily from Africa or living. Again, you remember you had Jews in Africa. All right, so that's what it's saying here. Okay, so like basically like what we call the field nigga and the house nigga. The house nigga, he's closer, to the Esau and to the white man and to the master and everything like that, and knows things. Whereas the field nigga, so they say, doesn't know as much. They just be working and stuff like that. All right, so and yeah, the house nigga is not doing as much work as the field nigga. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, like less labor intensive jobs and were more valued than the bazar. Okay, I'm gonna drop down a little bit. It says right here, the origin of the name comes from the fact that they could speak the vernacular Latin, Ladino, or Romance, or what we call today Spanish, within a nuisance nationalist mentality that made Spanish the language of Iberian Peninsula. Ladino also meant the Moors and Jews that spoke the language of the occupying reconquest forces, those that spoke a vernacular of Latin, not Arabic. Okay, so but look how it says the Moors and Jews. Okay, so Ladino also meant the Moors. So we just read that Ladino synonymous with black. So I don't see why y'all can't put two and two together. For those hating, you know what I'm saying. But you see that it's synonymous. Ladino is not talking about a fake Jew, or these fake Jews want to talk about they're the Moranos, and and all of this kind of stuff. But it's clear that it's talking about black people. All right. So, but it says Moors and Jews. All right. So, dropping down. All right, I'll just keep reading. But it says, with the advent of the slave trade, hegemonic thinking transferred the term to the whiter, dark-skinned body rather than the whiter religious outsider, suggesting an altered significance of the term in the Spanish project to differentiate minorities. Today, in the context of the history of the Sephardim, Ladino still refers to the language spoken by exiled Jews. Okay, so showed you that it's a mixture of Spanish and Hebrew. Okay, and has become a synonym for those Jews. All right, so that was pretty much what I was trying to bring out. Okay, so this, and again, in the first in the Marana, I showed, the Sephardium has nothing to do, that's a term that has been made up, but not made up, but I showed it in the scriptures. But as far as a connection with Spain, it wasn't being called that because, again, in the Hebrew, you see Sephardic goes into the region of Assyria. All right, but we see right here the connection between the Moors, the Jews, okay, which again, you had Jews that were Moors following after the Islam, and then you had those Jews that were called Moranos, Ladinos as well, but in the aspect of Moranos, they were publicly practicing Christianity, but on the low, keeping Torah. All right, so back to the video. I'm more so going from Spain to the Americas, Africa to the Americas. Okay, but in regards to Ladinos, and in regards to, if you haven't already watched my Marano video, because you have to watch that to get the understanding of the Ladinos, because they were the same people, which the Moranos were Jews in Spain and Portugal. Once they got kicked out, a lot were shipped to Africa, West Africa, San Tome, and then shipped to the islands. Okay, but then again, the same thing with the Ladino, just pretty much under a different name. They were the same people, which I showed in the first Ladino video. Okay, but let's get into it. All right, so the Portuguese. This is from the Encyclopedia of the Middle Passage, and I'm gonna be reading just certain points, and I'm gonna keep moving on. So a lot of time can go, but the Portuguese attitudes toward black slaves were influenced by religious and social differences as well as racial consideration. In Spain, slavery had been part of the society long before their colonization of the Americas, and most Africans were legally imported directly after the Spanish conquest. Okay, and as I said before, that you're gonna see the term African, but since if you were following along in the first Ladino video, and like I said, the Marano, you would know that these Africans were those Israelites or Moranos, Jews that secretly kept Christianity, basically. You would know that. Okay, so it says most Africans were legally imported directly after the Spanish reconquest. They were referred to as Ladinos, Africans who had either lived or were born in Spain. Some were prisoners or descendants of prisoners captured in the long wars against the Moorish kingdoms in southern Spain and forced to adopt Christianity. So, I mean, we already established that what's a Marano. You know what I'm saying? So these are the things you have to look at excuse me, these are the things you have to look at when you're researching and putting the pieces together. Okay, but we already established that the Moranos were the ones being forced to Christianity. So the Ladinos, Moranos, is the same thing, and they're both synonymous with being Jews because, as I showed in the definitions of a Ladino, But like I said, you can go and watch that one. All right, but it says others had reached Spain over the numerous slave routes that crossed the Sahara Desert. An estimated 10,000 Ladinos lived in Seville in 1492, and Ladino crewmen worked alongside free sailors on the Spanish expedition of the 15th and 16th centuries, or as companions or assistants to the conquistadors. Okay, the Spanish conquerors of the Aztec and Inca empires. Okay, so you had some, which is further going to show later, and this you had some Ladinos that helped, or not so much helped conquerors, but they once they came out here, they assimilated and went into like native tribes because again they knew they were the same people, Israelites. Okay, so and basically, and a lot of people so simple. Our people are smart. You know what I'm saying? Like even with this whole thing about natives, had slaves and all, which that when you do more of the research, a lot of the natives that did have slaves were heathens, were Esau, that $5 Indians, what we call them. That as well, but you had, I guess you'll say Negroes had slaves as well, which again you got to be smart that they were taking them to hide them amongst these were runaways. Okay, they weren't just whipping their backs and things like you're thinking the white man did to us or Esau. Okay, so that's so these conquistadors, it wasn't like they was really out there, killing alongside Esau. Some had to, but for the most part, a lot of them ran away. Once they came to the Americas. All right, so but it says the Spanish granted the Ladinos certain privileges, including the right to buy their freedom. See, their independent spirit worried the Spanish colonists, however, who pinned their hopes on the more docile and stable Bazales, African-born slaves. Okay, so you had the Ladinos and the Bazales. And you have to remember that you had a lot of Israelites in Africa, which we know Babylon did Timbuktu, all throughout West Africa. I showed that in, I believe, the Morano video, I believe part 3, or the final part, in regards to the Jews of El Sudan, Balid El Sudan, and then, obviously, yeah, all throughout West Africa, so that's pretty much what I'm going into, or what I was going into. All right, so it says, so that's the point on that. All right, so similar to the other edit, this was another one I didn't read over the last little sentence. Not purposely. I was pressed for time. So I like to go through stuff and get it done. But on the topic of the conquistadors, because like I said, you have, people that I guess they might try to use this as a way of which the black conquistadors, basically it was black on black crime, basically. Okay, now like I said, I don't subscribe to the 12 tribes chart, but I know that some Israelites did come over here, which I have sources, and I'll probably do a lesson later. But even like I said, with the David Rubini, Eldan, the Danite, you had a lot of 10 tribes in Africa as well as Europe. They didn't all come over here. So I used to, all the 10 tribes came over to the. No, that's not what happened. Okay, so but the point is, you had some black conquistadors that helped, the Spaniards, but they were trying to get freedom. You know what I'm saying? So likewise, just like you have our people are, whether they were in the army. We have our people that are in the army and fighting for this country, fighting for the so-called white man. Likewise, they were out of their own, wasn't their own will to come over here, and because yeah, just the Spaniards using us. You know what I'm saying? But they came over here, and it was basically like black on black crime. Because again, the Indians over here, blacks of the land, Negroes de terra, you know. But it says legal import. I just wanted to get this point though. It says legal imports of bazales were sanctioned in 1518. And also, I wanted to say, because I watched the whole video, and I didn't say this, but the source. The previous source where it says like the Ladinos, uh, they were exiled from Spain. Um, it said like 1619, which I don't believe that slave trade started at 1619, even though that's the premise of what we learn in school and everything. But I believe it was way further, which I showed in the Morano video, 1500s. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, since it says 1518, but it says, but they proved to be just as determined to resist their oppressors and win back their freedom as the Ladinos. Okay, so they was trying to win their freedom. They come over here, do what they got to do. Help the Spaniard out a little, and then try to get their freedom, escape, and everything, which I bring out later on in the video about how we assimilate, or not assimilated, but went amongst certain tribes, okay, or Indians. All right, so it says black Africans in Europe served as pirates, landowners, laity, members of urban confraternities, gallery slaves and craftsmen, as well as many other socio-economic roles between 1440 and 1600 in England, Portugal, and Northern Europe. All right, so yeah, so that was pretty much what I wanted to bring out and or say real quick. So again, back to the video. I'm gonna continue to talk about the Bazales in a minute. Trying to think what I had. Okay, I'll read this. And this is from the book Slavery from Roman Times to the Early Transatlantic Trade. In 1518, the Hieronymus Affairs, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, on Hispaniola called for the importation of blacks directly from Africa, thus arguing for a change in policy. In the first stages of the slave trade, the crown had specified that only Ladinos, Christianized Spanish-speaking slaves should be allowed passage to the Indies. Specifically, to be avoided was the transportation of Muslim Wolofs from Guinea, who might introduce the dreaded religion plurality into Spanish America. Okay, so it says the Hieronymites were calling for the importation of Bazales, unacculturated slaves. In the New World, the term Bazal generally was used to describe an African newly introduced into European controlled areas, whereas Ladino at first was used for a slave who had been born in Spain or had resided there long enough to acquire the language before he or she was taken to the Indies, or what we say West Indies. So just showing what I was saying, clowns saying, like, it's, as you hear me reading, you're seeing that people are being called Ladino. It's not just the language, okay? But it's ironic that these same people are called Ladino, yet it's a language that's a mixture of Spanish and Hebrew, because those were Israelites, okay? All right, the Moranos, and so on and so forth, as I've been bringing out. All right, so let me see. Because this I didn't know if I was gonna bring this one out. It says later Ladino came to be used for designating the level of assimilation of the slave, whether he or she had been assimilated in Spain or in Spanish territorial overseas, and Criollo Negro was used to describe an American born black. As time passed, Ladino and Criollo or Negro came to be used indiscriminately. All right, so they basically was like the same thing. Okay, and then it soon became apparent that in some respects the colonists preferred Bazalos to Ladinos. They could be molded more easily into Spanish pattern. Okay, so that was the point on that. All right, so this the one I really wanted to bring out though. All right, so this is African Caribbeans, a reference guide by Alan West. You can go back. I've been forgetting to say the author's name, but you can go back and check out the author authors' names on the previous sources I gave. But it says Ladinos and Bazales. The exact date of arrival of the first blacks is unknown. Some believe that blacks were brought as early as 1496 to work on the construction of some of the first settlements in Hispaniola. By 1501, a number of blacks brought by their owners directly from Spain lived on the island. Similarly, by 1502, some of the 2,500 Spaniards who came to Hispaniola brought with them an unknown number of blacks. These blacks, many of whom were slaves, others were free, came as salary workers, and having come from Spain, they were acculturated to Spanish Moors. By this time, black male slaves were assigned to work in the gold mines found on the island. Quickly, these acculturated black slaves, called Ladinos, okay, so again, they were called Ladinos, and again, we know these were Israelites, discovered that there was a drastic difference between working as a slave in Spain and working as a slave in Hispaniola, where the get-rich-quick mentality meant working long hours under harsh conditions with insufficient food. By comparison, in Spain, most slaves were seen as ornaments, working as domestic servants. Some have argued that during that time, servitude in Spain was permitted by a paternalistic attitude on the part of the owners who were rich and belonged to nobility, and that such an attitude characterized the social relationship between masters and their black slaves who worked as servants. All right, so so that's kind of like some being treated a certain way, so it says the tough working conditions black Ladino slaves faced in Hispaniola would prompt them to end their suffering. Soon, black Ladino slaves began to run away from their masters, secluding themselves in the high mountains. Some runaways found refuge among some Tainos who had luckily escaped a premature death under the Spanish regime, while others ended up forming communities of their. Okay, so this is another edit, because I wanted to really touch into the Taino thing real quick, which, I've done before. I'm going to upload the other videos I did on the Scriptures, No Vain Opinion here, and I went more in depth on the Taino thing, but, because again, which I don't deny that the Tainos or Puerto Ricans per se are Israelites, which again Afro Puerto Ricans, because the Louisa, I believe I showed it in one of my videos, but I will in the future or soon. But showing that the Bene Ephraim, of the Yoruba and the Nigerian. It was either Ghana or Nigeria. They went to during it was Nigeria actually. Yeah, they went to slavery. When they went in slavery, ended up in Louisa, Puerto Rico, and they were they say from Ephraim. You know what I'm saying? So, and then again, you had Tainos there as well, and there's history on the Tainos being Israelites, but it's not talking about J Lo and Ricky Martin. It's talking about right here. Okay, I'm not extinct. Jamaican Taino proudly declares ancestry, and in the video, which I'll upload that soon from what I did going in more depth with the Tainos. Yeah, you had Tainos in everywhere, not just Puerto Rico. You had Jamaica, all throughout the islands. All right, so I just wanted to go through a few things real quick about Tainos. Okay, like again, Jamaica, 15th century Jamaica's, and this is going in with Columbus. Okay, so when the eclipse took place, fearful natives provide abundant provisions to Columbus. Okay, look at black people. All right, so and this the Arawak Indians, so-called black Puerto Ricans are the Indians Spaniard scene. So yeah, these are the Israelites. Okay, so and then again, Jamaica gets first Taino chief in over 500 years. So yeah, so that's who the Ladinos was hiding. It said that they went amongst the Tainos. Okay, and I did this a lot of the, as you've seen, some of it was from my Instagram, but it said Indians were sent on ships, Deuteronomy 28:68, to Spain and Africa, but they were classified as Negroes. Men can't be that bold and simple to say these are Canaanites too, because yeah, these clowns, Ayash, and all of these dudes trying to say we're Canaanites, but at any time it has to do with Jews being somewhere, oh, it was Canaanites, you know what I'm saying? But this was about the Tainos. The Spanish monarchs received Columbus and Barcelona after this first voyage, because we know he took slaves back, and these are, who do we see? Okay, these are the people he brought from America. Okay, so yeah, black people. All right, so I wanted to show something else uh, real quick on the Tainos. I think that might be it, but yeah, you already know about the version of the navigators, Vespucci, um, Columbus, and then as you can see in the background, afros, woolly hair, these are the indigenous people, which would basically be Tainos, Arawak Indians, so on and so forth. All right, so it's the version of the navigators. I've shown it before. All right, so I've shown it before. Okay, so this is what I wanted. Taino Indians. So right here, just getting to a point. It says from the Spanish. So from the Spanish. Okay, so not no from my own interpretation of who they were or whatever. Not. It says from the Spanish we know that the Tainos were short, dark skinned, and had black hair. Okay, so and in the images I'm showing you, it's not because people want to get it twisted, thinking it's like some like not basically trying to say it's not Negro, just some dark skin, tan, dark, you know what I'm saying? Nah. All right, so because and I showed this before too, like Jamaica. We just talked about Jamaica and the Tainos, and you see in the feathers. This is the coat of arms. this is the coat of arms. You know what I'm saying? So of Jamaica. All right. So and we know that they were in many places. All right. So back to the video of their own. Okay. So and before I continue, all right. So this what I wanted to talk about real quick. This is from the book Africans and Native Americans by Jack Forbes. All right, this is page 25. And it says, I'm just getting to the point. It says, thus the veil of evil descended upon the Caribbean, and many long years of rape and genocide commenced. As Todorov stated, world population is approximately 400 million, of whom 80 million inhabit the Americas. By the middle of the 16th century, out of these 80 million, there remain 10. If the word genocide has ever been applied to a situation with some accuracy, this is here the case. But the tens of millions of Americans who disappeared after 1492 did not all die in the Holocaust afflicted within the Americas. Many thousands were sent to Europe and Africa, where their descendants still live. Okay, and later on in the book, he says they went to Seville and were classified as Negroes. But as you can see, that a lot of the natives were sent to Europe and to Africa. Okay, so um, the slavery is both going both ways. All right, so that's what I wanted off that. But as far as I brought that out in regards to the Tainos, okay. So since that came up with the Native Americans or indigenous, um, and the reason I say because when the term Native American or Native, I'm Salakia for kind of going off, but anyone could really be a native to America. Anyone that's born here, that even the white man. Okay, but the real term would be Aborigine, even though indigenous is also kind of like a native, but the term would be Aborigine. All right, that's would be the term. But when you look up the word in which I brought that out in the Webster's dictionary in regards to Israeli not being there. But when you looked at the word American. Okay, so I just wanted to show what I was talking about in regards to native. Okay, so it's the 1828 Webster's dictionary. And it's real quick just to show the Israeli thing. So in the 1800s, Israeli wasn't even, just so y'all see, I'm not making this up, but you type in Israeli, it's not there, but Israelite, a descendant of Israel or Jacob or a Jew. Matter of fact, let me just show something else. So even the word brunette, it entitles a woman with dark hair, eyes, and of dark complexion. But nowadays people thinking, oh, brunette, white woman. So just it's crazy stuff that is going on. These people acting like we just out here lying and stuff. But anyway, so it says a citizen of the state of Israel. Okay, it distinguishes the citizens of the modern state from the ancient people who had been known in English as Israelites. So it distinguishes. Okay, so that it's a difference between the Israeli and the Israelites. Okay, so again, like I said, be going over people's heads. These people aren't Israelites. Okay, and I'm further showing Deuteronomy 28:68, but I'm also even in that showing how the Jews are people of color. All right, so yeah, an Israelite, a Jew, one of the people of Israel, descendant of Israel or Jacob. So Israeli has nothing to do with that, just like Sephardic and what I was talking about. But what I was trying to say in regards to the native thing is it's a person born in a specific place or associated with a place by birth. Okay, whether subsequently resident there or not, a local inhabitant. That's why you have people that say that I'm a native of New York or I'm a Chicago native, Cali native. Okay, well, regardless of their race. You know what I'm saying? So that's why, the term Native American, I use it loosely at times, but, um, I just wanted to get it here. So, this is the real point, now, going this class. But it says, one born in any place is said to be a native of that place, whether country, city, or town. Okay, so that's why I rather use the term aborigine or aboriginal. All right, so which says first origin, primitive, aboriginal people are the first inhabitants of a country. Okay, so the first settlers in a country are called aboriginals, as the Celts in Europe and Indians in America. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, inhabiting or existing in a land from the earliest times or from before arrival of colonists. All right, so that's the more proper term. Okay, not Native American, and you know what I'm saying, and which Native American applies to the Mongoloids or Japheth, Esau as well, mixture in that, you know what I'm saying, which also deems so-called Latinos. All right, so that's that you can't get around that. You guys talk, well, we're the Indians, we're Native American. Okay, yeah, you are, yeah, from Japheth line or Esau. You know what I'm saying? Because yeah, you got Esau and that, but that's just a whole nother thing. But I just want to show this last thing. Okay, so it says, okay, so I wanted to get America. Okay, now it says a native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals, okay, or copper colored races, okay, found here by the Europeans. Now, this guy, Northern Kingdom Prophet, I seen him one time, cause I'm not holding my tongue on you guys. But you were talking about, the copper color doesn't mean black or Negro or something you said, but it's not even just him. It's other people as well, that can't understand the whole thing about black Indians, and I know some people have their understanding whether there was Israel or not. You know what I'm saying? But the point is, for truth, it's always about truth. So let me cut you real quick. Now, these slave, these bounties, let's see what they be saying. All right, so it says also right here, also a Negro man named Hamp of dark copper color, black thick lips, about 6 feet high. Just that's the point. Also, Negro man slave named Bob, copper color, high cheekbones. So, yeah, Negroes being called copper color. All right, so you talking about it's not talking about y'all, and you trying to use the lightest penny. You know what I'm saying? Nah. So yeah, as that penny gets older over time, gets darker and darker and darker. Okay, so yeah, man. Um, Let me see. Oh, my fault. This it's not one, but yeah, it says Lee Lucas, a copper colored Negro. All right, and it ain't Negro, like you can see the image, woolly hair, and that's what's being called copper color. Not he was a mixed Native American, like as if trying to like a native Mongoloid with a mixture of African American, or yeah, that's what they trying to say. But no, as you can see, all right, and yeah, this is just the last one. Run away from the subscriber living near San Marcos Hayes on the 9th of April, a dark copper colored, large, likely Negro woman. All right, so just showing that. So the copper color races found by the Americas. So I showed, earlier in the video about the Indians being called Moor, Negro, Ethiopian, stuff like that. All right, so back to the video. But moving forward, in 1503, it says, or actually, I didn't even finish that part. Slaves who ran away were called cimarrones by Spaniards. Cimarrones was the origin of the English word maroon. Okay, so and that's what they were calling. Which I've been trying to do some more research on the term maroon, which it's not necessarily uh, they equate it with like runaway slaves, but I believe the term was used prior. But I might bring that out as an extra, lesson or something like that. But yeah, but it says in 1503, a new governor arrived at Hispaniola, Fray Nicolas de Ovado. On on arrival, Ovado asked the Spanish crown to prohibit the sending of more black slaves to Hispaniola. The governor, a religious man, believed that black slaves were rebellious, vicious, and ungrateful. They looked for every opportunity to escape uh, corrupted Tainos by teaching them bad habits, and once they escaped, it was not easy to capture them. Okay, as Alvedo requested, the shipping of slaves to Hispaniola stopped, but slaves constantly escaped, and the Taino population was being decimated, leaving Hispaniola without enough people to, that was the point I wanted to get though. All right, so let's continue on. All right, so I forgot if y'all want this source. I forgot where I got it from, but I was reading it, and I got this point out, which I really which is pretty much going into the same stuff that I brought out earlier, but just a little bit more information. All right, so it says the Spanish. I believe it was in regards to Jamaica. I forgot. But it says the Spanish began importing black slaves shortly after King Ferdinand authorized the governor of Hispaniola, island encompassing present day Haiti and Dominican Republic. Okay, so there goes the Dominican Republic, and again, everything that was around the time of Ferdinand is regards to the expulsion of the Jews of Spain. Okay, so which I further proved in the Morano video and the first Ladino video. Okay, so it says governor of Hispaniola to import Christian blacks, Ladinos, from Spain in 1501. The first black slaves brought to Jamaica did not come directly from Africa, okay, were uh, but were either Africans or the descendants of Africans who had been enslaved for a time in Spain. Okay, so we already know, like I said, you're going to keep saying African, 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 but we already know what's good. Okay, it says in 1518, King Charles I of Spain, Ferdinand's successor, signed a 4-year contract, or asiento, allowing an annual supply of 4,000 African slaves to enter Hispaniola, Cuba, Jamaica, and Puerto Rico. Okay, slaves then came directly from Africa by 1611. Jamaica had a population of 558 black slaves, 107 free blacks, and between 1,200 and 1,400 Spaniards. Okay, which we all know. Uh, like I said, the slave trade was going both ways. All right, so yeah, so basically, the point is that the first slaves, which I brought out, weren't coming from Africa; they were coming from Spain. All right, so which were the Moranos? Anything is synonymous with the Jews in Spain, or the slavery in Spain, or the start of slavery in Spain, is hands down the Moranos, which were black. Okay, Negroes, Israelites. All right, so no one could, you can't you can't flip that and say it was fake Jews or Jewish. Okay, so, and this is my this is me talking to those that, oh, you don't like Israelites, or you, oh, it's a cult, or you know what I'm saying, you trying to say we're not the Israelites, and so on and so forth. Okay. So I mean, like I said, I've been cutting this whole Deuteronomy 28 verse 68, and I'm gonna continue to. All right, so it says, prior to the, and this is wiki, but you know, like I bring out, you know, I sometimes use wiki, but if I got other sources, which I've already showed other sources, you know, so um, you know, this kind of goes hand in hand with all the stuff I've been bringing out. It says, prior to the arrival of, and I believe this is when you type in Black Ladinos, this is what comes up. It says, prior to the arrival of Columbus to the Americas, there were black people, or Moors. There has been a long history of Moors, Africans in Europe and the Iberian Peninsula, okay, who either lived as freemen from time immemorial, were brought through the Arab slave trade, Castilian or Portuguese colonization of Africa. All right, so after some time, and yeah, going into the Arab slave trade. So as we know, going back to Joel, you know, the third chapter, we see that as well. All right. After some time in Spanish society, those Africans became Christianized and learned Spanish, which they were Ladinos. There were 50,000 black Ladinos in Spain in the 15th century, in which I showed, which let me bring that out one more time. Let me get it one more again. Is it that here? All right, so Forged in the Fiery Furnace, African American Spirituality by Diana Hayes, page 35, which I brought this out in the first Ladino video, but just if y'all forgot, and you know, I'm gonna just get to the point. It says the great majority, I'm right here, the great majority of Africans who came in the 16th century were Ladinos, baptized Spanish-speaking Roman Catholics, who either had been born in Latin America or lived in Spain. In the early 1500s, Spain exiled hundreds of black Ladinos, which again we know this is the Moranos. They came, some free but many enslaved, to the Americas, okay, and became a critical source of labor and helped in establishing and maintaining the colonies. Okay, so yeah, you know, just to further show in regards to the connection. All right, so it says, after the initial stages of the Spanish colonization of the Americas showed that Amerindians were not suitable for the labor that the conquerors required, mainly due to the Eurasian illnesses unknown in the Americas. And that's mainly what it was. It wasn't that the Negroes were stronger, because again, they were all Negroes. All right, so which, you know, I'm not saying that all the natives, all Israelites, but were Negroes in that aspect. But because my thing with the 10 tribes is that a lot of Negroes were, which, and a lot of us that might claim we're from Africa or the slave trade, were actually here with the 10 tribes, you know. But that's just, you know, my understanding, you know. But as far as what really happened with the Americas, it wasn't necessarily, it was mainly due to, like, you know, the illnesses and things like that. Not that they was weak and all of that kind of stuff, as they, you know, a lot of times they bring up. But it was saying, but it's saying that Nicholas de Ovado, which we read about, decided to bring slaves from Spain between 1502 and 1518. Castile exiled hundreds of black slaves, primarily to work as miners. Opponents of their enslavement cited their Christian faith and their repeated attempts of escape to the mountains or to join the Native Americans in revolt. Which, yeah, like the other source I brought out, but the Christian faith is again where you gotta, you gotta get your understanding on and really know what that was talking about. Again, who are the Moranos? They forced Christianity. All right, so proponents declared that the rapid diminution of the Native American population required a consistent supply of reliable, low cost workers. Okay, so that was pretty much the point. The point of everything. Further understanding on the Ladinos and where they were taken. All right, so let me close it out. But this is it says the first slave trade voyage known to have sailed directly from Africa to the Americas arrived in Santo Domingo on the island Hispaniola in 1525. The ship's cargo consisted of nearly 200 captives purchased in San Tome, which we know by the lessons I've previously done about the Moranos after being kicked out of Spain were shipped, I'll say shipped, Deuteronomy 28 verse 68 to San Tome, okay, and then shipped from there to the Americas, okay, which were Moranos, Ladinos. Several additional slave ships disembarked enslaved Africans in Hispaniola, Cuba, Puerto Rico, and Jamaica during the late 1520s and 1530s, which when I brought out the thing on the Christianized black Ladinos, which we already established that they're not Africans, but the same places that I brought out in that other source as in this one. Taxes paid by slave merchants in Spain suggest that an average of about 1,200 African captives were transported to the Americas each year from the mid-1540s to 1580, though the actual numbers may have been considerably higher. While some enslaved Africans were sent to labor in mines and in some cases sugar plantations, others were employed in traditional occupations performed by slaves in Iberia, such as street vending, domestic service, arsenal labor, construction, maritime labor, agriculture, and animal husbandry. All right, so just showing that they were sent to the Americas and also still being enslaved in Spain. And then, like I also brought how the Aborigines or the 10 tribes were taken also to Spain and Africa, by way of ships. All right. So let me bring this out one more time. Alright, so and this is from I believe it's the African source. I forgot what it was called. But if you want the sources, I'll give them to you. But it says it happened. It so happened that in 1496, Portuguese Kings João Emmanuel hoarded hundreds of thousands of Jews, sent them into exile on the West African coast of Guinea and Biafran. So, just also to know that, when it's talking about Guinea and things like that, again, Israelites, because we was there and being sent there as well. So it wasn't necessarily Hamites or something like that. No, it's Israelites. And on the islands of Cape Verde and San Tome, into a life of perpetual slavery. These particular branch of the Iberian Moorish Hebrews were called the Ladinos. Okay, so it says Ladino means Latinized Negroes. It was a racist term used for the black Jews of Iberia who were soon deported to African islands and coastal settlements and used as the first slaves in the sugar plantations. Okay, and there's the source for that. All right, so and I just wanted to throw that out there to for anybody. Oh, the Latinos wasn't Israelites. They wasn't. Which I put the pieces together and further proved everything.